Yes, well, Evan, we're back with episode number 112.
112. Are we on like the 120 with T? I feel like we're higher, a bit higher with T.
I think we are.
But this is crazy. 112 deep into the thick of the Acolyte, and I'm excited. This episode was amazing. I had a blast with this episode. It was one of the rare. I talked about this on Twitter. It's one of the rare episodes where, as soon as it ended, my dad texted me and we called and we talked about like everything that happened all throughout this episode because it was just a lot to take in. New theories were created. New theories were torn apart. Or old theories were torn apart. And we got some new lore about the sisters. It was all very exciting. Oh, we're in Hyperspace now.
Yeah, I didn't play the intro either. I should have.
I mean, it's never too late to play an intro. We haven't done it the last few times, have we? Or did you do it last time?
I don't think we did it last time.
Oh, wow.
We're too excited.
Too excited. Well, we can do it later.
Punch it!
Sorry, I must have sneezed.
Perfect. You really gotta get some medicine for that, Nathan. Happened more than once. You're coughing. You sneezing. That was great. Nostalgic. But yeah,
we have been doing this for 4 years. Going on 5.
Everything nostalgic. If it hasn't happened in a week, it's nostalgic. But man, yeah, like I was saying, like this episode was a lot. But it was very exciting, very entertaining for me at least. Like I'm just so invested in these characters, and these are kind of the episodes that I like that we don't get a lot of in Star Wars TV, at least. Taking a step back. Some people might think of this as a breather episode, but it gave us a lot of insight and a lot of perspectives. Or it gave us one perspective. We'll talk about it as it goes on, but this is really like OSHA'S perspective. Even though towards the beginning, we got OSHA and May a little bit, but there were instances where May was leaving. We didn't see what happened with her. It was just OSHA's point of view for most of it there. And that's exciting. From a certain point of view. Hello. That's exciting because, we're going to get back into it with what exactly went down on Brendok. Because shit went down, shit got crazy. I have a lot to say. I'll just stop there. But what do you think about the episode overall?
Wonderful.
Yeah, I loved it. It was great.
Absolutely. It was an episode I was watching actively, and where it's like the first two, I was like, wow, whoa, this is cool, haha. That's what. Oh, Yord. Like, I'm watching this one, and I'm just like, I'm deeply like concentrated, and I'm also like kind of uncomfortable with just like this feels like a real family squabble where where like you're fucking like you're at your friend's house and his dad starts yelling at him and you're just sitting there all fucking like I would go, but I don't know if I can.
I mean, that's what's some great TV. It's funny enough, I just watched this new show, Jake Gyllenhaal's Presumed Innocent, which is based off of a Harrison Ford movie that my mom has seen, but I have not seen. So don't spoil it, anybody. I don't know what happens. I'm along for the Apple TV ride. They all did. Oh God. I wonder where that came from. I loved the family drama there. It felt so awkward. It was literally like 2:00 last night. I'm watching Presumed Innocent. I'm just under my covers, like, oh, this is some awkward, uncomfortable family drama, but I can't take my eyes away. Like, it was that good. And Jake, I tweeted out, like, is it too early to give Jake the Emmy? He's so good. But that's for next year. Anyways, I felt the same thing here, where we're watching OSHA and May bickering like children, and some of it was very awkward, and they are children, exactly. Some of it was very awkward, but some of it was very heartfelt. I just got to tweet out that we're live. Join in for a question. But yeah, I also just I was vibing not only with the sisters what they were going through, but the coven. I was very excited to see what the coven was getting into, given all the trailers that we saw, some of the theories. Last week I mentioned, hey, the eyes go black when OSHA had that vision of her sister when she crash landed on that snow planet. I forget what it's called now. Starts with the C. I don't care. Anyways, she crash lands, have this vision of her sister, May, who young May says, yes, I killed Andara, and eyes go black. Then she says, I'll kill them all. Cut to episode 2, May doesn't know that OSHA was still alive. He says, Oshi. So there was a kind of discrepancy there. Like, who gave OSHA those visions? Did he just born from her? From the thread, one could say? Or is somebody manipulating May behind the scenes, or OSHA behind the scenes? And that's what I mentioned, possibly the sisters, the witches. Cut to this episode, and my theory may hold some ground still. We'll have to wait and see. So I'll talk about it as we get through the episode for sure.
Well, yeah, in this episode, I'm watching it, and I know it's a biased perspective, right? It's OSHA's perspective.
See?
But, I'm watching and I'm like, oh my God, I don't like May at all.
That's what you
in this episode. Which, again, I can understand if being from OSHA's perspective, she feels very like confined and like not able to like live her own being. She has to like continuously share with her sister. But it's funny, like I'm watching May and just like all of her like descriptors and her mindset. I'm just like, it just feels like a cult. I'm very disturbed about this, man.
I didn't get cult vibes from it. Like I wasn't as turned off as it was when I watched The Mandalorian. Even though they're supposed to be like good cult, whatever it was.
Yeah, we're on the side of this now. We condone this.
Yeah, but like for this one, we'll go through it. But they definitely had like some weird tendencies, but they weren't doing anything that was like really out of the blue. Like I think OSHA wants to do stuff by herself. Anastasia listens. Coral doesn't. There's some naysayers, but there's some people who approve, i.e. Anastasia. So it's like I didn't get like they were being like so confined to it. They were being secretive, but maybe secretive for a good reason. We don't know why they got banished. We saw what she did at Torben, so that could be it. But we don't know for sure what went down. They could have just been doing anything. They could have got like dark side, persecute them, and they had run away. So
for sure. Though when I do say like cult, like I mean like May's whole attitude with everything, like just like, oh no, obviously like we're supposed to be witches. Like you're supposed to want this. You want it. Of course you want it. It's what we want.
Yeah.
It's never just the individual. And granted, that's just. It also seems like the descriptive of like them two is very like you two were brought together as one, and it's funny reanalyzing the rhyme that they speak to each other. The born is two. Always one is born was two. Even like the final line of like was I want to fuck it up.
Is it I be me, you be, it's not I be me, you be you.
I give you me and you give me you.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you.
Both connotations spoken from May it's
very much like together.
It's a two-sided, like May is projecting to OSHA and OSHA doesn't have anything to like be from her own side. It's both like a perspective. It's very like one-sided against OSHA when you really like listen to it.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds, especially given OSHA's wishes, it sounds very confining. Like on the outside of it, looking in, before understanding that OSHA wanted to leave, when I heard it, like I giving me, you be you. It sounds like a sweet like sibling connection that they have. It's like, oh, they'll always be bonded together. That's kind of sweet.
Cool twin thing.
Cool twin thing. But when you hear OSHA's yearning for not wanting that, it then turns into a more confining and restrictive phrase where it's like her freedom is getting diminished there. But that's OSHA's thing. But yeah, I don't think May's. It's interesting. I didn't hate May, but it came across as May very much wanting to be part of the witches, part of the witch coven. And if that happened, cool. I think the bad side was that she was just really wanting to force it on OSHA, and OSHA didn't really want that. She wasn't really as understanding as Anastasia. If OSHA is really taking part of Anastasia, then May is really taking part of Coral, I guess, in that motherly to daughter relationship.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's break this down because it's those two sisters had a very complex, messy, and interesting dynamic. But we started this whole episode, Nathan's a flashback 16 years prior. And then that was fascinating to me. So we start 16 years prior. We stay on Brendock for the entire episode. And this was interesting. And the title, Nathan, is called Destiny. Destiny, which is interesting. The last two episodes, we had like Revenge and Justice for episode 2. And then I forget what the episode 1 was. But it was also 2 different titles. The fact that we are getting just one title, titled Destiny, does, again, elevate the fact that like this is OSHA's perspective. We're only getting one perspective. There isn't a slash because we're not getting May or the Jedi's perspective here in this case. So that was very interesting as well. And it's called Destiny, and Destiny is mentioned in terms of like how one interacts with the thread. And I think that's very important because I think the thread, we'll go through like the powers of the thread. I mean, how the coven interacts with the thread and how that might differ with the Force. Because it's very fascinating.
I interpreted it as the thread is the Force from their
from their perspective. But they also had a different meaning. They also had a different, how do I say it? Like reverence for it compared to the Jedi.
I think they even like pretty like straight reference that like some view it as like what they do is like dark, as in like a Jedi label the dark side.
Exactly. Like I think for the thread, there is no dark side, light side, unlike the Force, where the Jedi claim there is a light side, dark side. That's very fascinating. But yeah, one title, Destiny, OSHA POV. I think again, doubling down on the destiny of it all. I like it because her destiny is kind of changed in this episode, in the sense that she wanted to become a Jedi. It was her choice. She said it verbatim, like, "No, Mom, I want to be a Jedi." She doubled down on it. But the interesting thing for me, and this is part of OSHA's arc that I mentioned last week, episode 1 and 2, was that OSHA's arc, she can't connect with the Force. She's been gone for a long time. By the time the series started, I think her journey throughout this series is connecting to the Force, or like how you mentioned, finding something that she can believe in again, or finding that deeper connection with the Force, or maybe even the thread. We'll see by the end of this season. That kind of will be her emotional arc for this series. And I bring that up again because in Destiny, she wants to be a Jedi. We know she stopped being a Jedi.
So like she full decade.
Full decade she commits, then she dips out. We don't know the full circumstances of her dipping out. I guess we might get that later on. It's one of the bigger questions. Besides the fact that she like had family stuff that she couldn't deal with. We now get the backstory of that family stuff, so it seems like, okay, I can see why she dips out. She can't really get over the fact that May's dead, can't get over the fact that her parents and everybody she loved had died. But she did become a Jedi like she wanted to be. But I think the difference here in terms of destiny is that it wasn't really her choice, right? Like, it was her choice to want to become a Jedi. That's a fact. But when May, we'll get to the whole fire part. When the fire happens, whether May started it or not, when the fire happens, people die, and the coven gets blown up, basically, gets attacked by themselves or by the Jedi. We'll have to wait and see. And OSHA wakes up on her ship. She's then already on her way to being Coruscant. No questions asked, right? They didn't ask her, "Hey, OSHA, where do you want to go? Like, we can drop you off somewhere." Like, it's straight up, we're going to Coruscant. From then on, we know she became a Jedi. It's interesting to me that given the chaotic elements of that night, she didn't physically say, "Hey, I want to be a Jedi. let's do this. It wasn't as amicable as 99% of the Jedi who were taken when they were very little. Parents willingly gave them away. It's messy. And then like, with your permission, right? We'll get to that. But yeah, parents willingly gave them away most of the time. This didn't happen with OSHA. Her parents, everybody she loved and knew, died. She wakes up and she kind of has to become a Jedi. Granted, it's what she wanted, but that baggage haunts her. So we can kind of see now that burden, that kind of like, there was a thread that she wanted to follow, lack of a better term. There was a thread she wanted to follow. It gets messy and complicated because of what happened with May and the Coven and the Jedi, that she still follows that thread. She still follows her path of wanting to be a Jedi, but it wasn't the same path as it would have been if she was just like, hey guys, I want to be with you. My bags are packed. Let's go. I think that's a big difference where she gets taken per se, even though it is what she wishes. And I think even Soul said in episode 1 and 2, or somebody said, like, she was very grateful for the Jedi when they saved her. And that makes sense. She's grateful that they saved her life, obviously. And that's why she was part of that. And I think part of her early days as a Jedi was being grateful for Soul, respecting Soul, respecting the Jedi for saving her life. But in the back of her mind, whatever happened haunted her because it wasn't exactly her choice. That's what I'm just trying to say there. But I think by the end of the season, she's going to get the choice again. I think she's going to commit to being a Jedi, which is very interesting. Because I know we're leading down the path towards the end of the Jedi, right? We're narrowing down and we're emphasizing the flaws of the Jedi. But for some reason, I do think that this season, at least the emotional arc of the season, will have OSHA double down on being a Jedi. Maybe like wanting to be a better Jedi, but I think she'll want to be a Jedi and reignite that love of the Force.
I think so. I wonder once we get the full perspective, thinking on the clues of when Yord first comes in the first episode to OSHA and brings up the fact that Master Indara recommended that her training ceased.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe whatever's gonna happen from the Jedi's perspective, that Indara might carry some mental baggage and kind of a bias in viewing OSHA in some ways, where she may be emotional a couple times and Indara be like, we can't let this go again?
That's a great question. I didn't even think about that in terms of like, yeah, Indara could be biased. Like, for example, if Nathan lashes out against Johnny, Indara's like, Nathan, calm down. But if I do it, / OSHA does it, she's like, oh, you're on mighty thin ice there, OSHA. So I think that's a good point. She could be having OSHA on some kind of high wire bias where if OSHA messes up, that might be dangerous because 1, she's 8, and 2, we did some fucked up things in the past, and Indara knows emotionally OSHA might not be able to handle it. Granted, again, we hear OSHA say, "No, I left my own free terms." So both can be true. Indara,
it's like when you watch Invincible, and they're constantly like looking for a weakness for Omni-Man, right? And then when they see like Mark goes up against something that weakens him in a sense, they're always like, put this on ice. Let's save this for a rainy day.
Let's save this. Like, this could be something we could use against the Viltrumites. Those guys are pretty damn strong.
Which I get it, but it's like, wow, this is born out of something nasty.
Exactly. So it's just very interesting. It's very interesting. I didn't even think about that. So I think, the more you mention it, those are the two big holes we have to get. Obviously, we are 1,000% going to get what happened that night on Brendok from multiple perspectives.
How do you think the season's going to go? Do you think we're immediately going to jump back to the main plot next week, or do you think we're going to maybe follow?
Great question. So episode 7 is already confirmed to be written and directed by Kogonada, written by the same writer who wrote episode 3. I forget her name. But it was 2 women writers. I forget. Just for a reminder for everybody watching or listening, Leslie had a huge writer's room, which is different from the other TV shows. So even though she might not be writing every single episode, a la like a Deborah Chow did for Kenobi, or directed at least she did.
But Evan, I thought she was projecting her own personal things in every episode.
Right? No. What happened with that? Oh God. So is it more of a collaborative effort? So certain writers did certain episodes as normal TV shows go. But this one was a lot more collaborative. It was very interesting behind the scenes stuff there. Watch it. Leslie had an interview. Be more open-minded. But anyways, episode 7 is already directed by Kokonada. People think that's when we'll finally get back to it. So we could get present day episodes for 4, 5, and 6. I think 4 could be the Konaka. It is obvious. It is obviously the Konaka episode. We might see Coruscant again because Indara's like, come back to Coruscant. So we could see some Coruscant BS politics. Love that for us.
Some Yoda?
Some Yoda? No. Yoda's already confirmed not to be on the show.
That's what they want you to think.
Oh, boy.
Break out the Phantom Menace puppet.
He's all dusty and cobwebs. Maybe season 2. But... And what was I going to say? Oh, so 4, 5, and 6, present day, 7, flashback. But I don't know if we're going to get a whole other episode again from the Jedi perspective. Like, it's interesting. I don't think we need a whole episode to get into May's perspective, right? Because, again, this episode, even though it is from OSHA'S POV, OSHA and May are together for 3/4 of this episode is OSHA and May together. There's not a lot of scenes where OSHA's there and May is not there until... They have until after the Jedi find them. Once the Jedi find them, they have the whole awkward talk at night. The next day, May goes in first for the test. OSHA goes in next. In May's sequence of events, all we have to do is see May's POV of her getting tested. Maybe it might not even be necessary. But also we're going to get, of course, everything that happened that night from May's POV. But what I'm saying is, everything that happened that night from May's POV isn't going to take an entire episode.
No,
what I think, though,
what I think though for May is like they'll probably do like in a pretty quick session because we know roughly what went down. We may get like differing perspectives, like how May's viewing the arrival of the Jedi, her arguments with OSHA, and little things like that. But it should like fast track relatively well because we've already experienced these specific big moments. But then I think after the fire and stuff, we're gonna see what happens to May after she's alone on the planet.
Exactly. That's a good point too. That's a great point. And that could be like the beefier part of May's episode. Yeah. I'm just curious. Are we gonna have 3 episodes about this Brendock stuff? OSHA with episode 3, Jedi and May, or are they going to combine Jedi and May's storylines, or I don't know.
It may just be the running plot is going to like unleash a bit of something for a character to respond to that will then trigger memories of certain events from their perspective.
Great point. And Leslie did say like each episode will reveal, a layer of the mystery. One did with May being OSHA and May being sisters in general. Episode 2 with May realizing that OSHA is alive, and then the whole chimera of it all, the whole poison, Torben saying we thought what we were doing was right, that kind of line. And then episode 3 now getting a huge info dump about exactly what went down from OSHA's POV. So each episode is going to deliver something new. Next week we are seeing Konaka. Konaka can't speak English, but the person that he's speaking to could reveal to us what Konaka thinks what happened with that night because he's not there at the end of the episode. Torben's messed up, but Konaka could be driving. But all we see is Sol, OSHA, Indara, and Torben in the background. Torben has some bloody face,
some scarage that wasn't there earlier.
Yeah, wasn't there earlier. And if you watch the trailer, they see Torben and Konaka.
I just see like a quick second where it's like, oh god.
Yeah, like if I see a Jedi or a Jedi Wookiee lunge at me
from the air.
all 9 feet tall Wookiee. Like, yeah, I'm shitting in my pants, Bob.
200 years of pissed off coming at me.
So that's not great. Oh, quick pause, by the way. They did reveal last week or 2 weeks ago that we are getting a Kawanaka one-shot comic, which is very interesting, coming out later this fall, I think October or August. It's going to get into what Konaka was doing the hundreds of years prior to this, which will align with the books and the comics currently going on with the High Republic, but also it'll close the gap between what happened between the books and comics in the Nile and what we're getting with the Acolyte. Again, there's like 100, maybe 150 years gap between the comics and what we're getting right now with the Acolyte. So that's very interesting, closing the gap there. Written by Kevin Scott, who is one of the founding members of the High Republic. That's very exciting. I love me some Wookiee stories.
I'll never forget when we were at Celebration and I went with you guys to the High Republic panel.
Oh yeah,
having not read anything.
Yeah,
and everyone's freaking out by this person dressed as a rock, and I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah, rock, Geode. That was great. It's funny. I was just reading a passage from my book, Defy the Storm, and somebody was playing Sabacc with Geode.
Hey.
He's a very good Sabacc player, apparently.
How? Is he just a force sensitive rock?
He just is. He just is.
No, motherfucker. How is he moving pieces?
We don't know.
Does he eat? I am.
He eats people.
God,
it's great. Whenever I'm reading about Geode, it's just like the best joke, but they take it so seriously of all time. It's brilliant writing. Like Geode moved in front of the robber, like what he did what? Like it's crazy. It's amazing.
Better than R5 being Skippy, the force sensitive droid.
Wait, what?
You remember old comics where like R5 was force sensitive?
Oh, the force is that in Legends?
It's Legends for sure.
Yeah. I remember that.
I think he's hanging out right now on the fucking the Mando. Just I'm waiting.
Yes.
That time will come again.
You're gonna give Filoni ideas.
Listen.
But yeah, we were just I forget how we got on the whole conversation. But yeah, I'm excited for the future of Acolyte, of course. But going back to OSHA and May, they are underneath a great, beautiful yellow willow tree. Willow trees signify, and I would know this because I've watched a lot of podcasts for.
Did someone say willow?
Willow, exactly, the Willow podcast. And willow signify rebirth, new life, which is very interesting given the fact that OSHA and May are created from life itself. They came from no father. So the fact that they're under a willow tree kind of reinforces their ideas and forces the idea that they are powerful, more powerful as two, maybe. Well, obviously they are. Are they a dyad though? I can just scratch that question off my notepad right now. Nathan, what do you think? Dyad? You're muted. What is it? 2020?
Yes. Episode 3. Yeah. So, dyad. Probably in a sense, in probably like every sense of the word. A force coming together to culminate these two beings that are already connected, like from the jump.
Yeah, it's interesting. We never really got too much information about the dyad, strictly from the films. The book, there's like a Force book. I'd never bought it or read it, but it was about the dyad, about how the power, the connectivity of the dyads. Excuse me. And yeah, TLJ, people were kind of like talking about Rey and Kylo's dynamic being super special based off of TLJ alone. JJ just called it by a name of dyad. So I know I miss Reylo. But May and OSHA and every single word, like you said, could be a dyad. I don't know if it would be explicitly mentioned as dyad in the show, but for all intents and purposes, they seem like it. Connected deeply, visions of one another, even though they aren't sharing a vision yet. If Leslie gives us Force Bond sequences again, this will be the best show of all time. I'm gonna go up my chair and just scream if OSHA has a Force vision of May. Like, come fucking on, please.
Yes.
if that doesn't happen this season, maybe next season if May survives. I hope she does. So we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, May always looks for OSHA at this tree. She says, "You're always gone. And whenever I can't find you, I come here for this tree," which is very sad. And again, referencing the ending of this episode where we see May, who somehow survived the fall, looking frightened, but at the tree because she's looking for her sister, which is very sad. Is there somebody behind the tree? Somebody who found May? Again, real quick aside again, we'll go to the episode again. But quick aside, I still don't think Chimere is the Sith. Personally, because if he was the one to have found May, trained her, raised her up, he would have had to been what? If she's 8, let's be generous and say Chimere's 8 years older, 8 to 10 years older, 10 at max, 10 years older than May and OSHA. He would have to be like 18 at the time. It would kind of work. It would kind of work. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah.
I just don't see it happening. We don't know how old. I'm just saying he's like 10 years older just because the actor Manny Jacinto is 31 and that's just it. But even then, like Manny Jacinto is like 32 and Amandla is like what, 26. She's close to my age or your age. So it's like
but then what, for 16 years he's keeping up a ruse from her that he's this
right? Right? Like, do they talk with this mask on all the time for 16 years? I don't buy it, Bob.
And then at some point he's just like, I'm gonna just introduce myself as Wacko number 3 and see how she feels.
I just don't buy it. But again, Nathan and I really doubling down on Chimere not being the Sith. If he is, though, again, if he is, it could make sense. I'll let him cook, obviously.
I'll try anything once.
If he is a Sith, please let it be revealed in that forest battle we see in all the trailers, which is probably like episode 4, 5, and 6. 4, 5, or 6. Hopefully that's not the end of the season. 4, 5, or 6. And if they reveal it then prior to the penultimate and the finale, then I'll let them cook. But granted, I also don't think that's the main mystery. I don't think we're supposed to be like who's behind the mask. The main mystery is like what happened on Brendok. That's the main mystery. The person behind the mask is a good Scooby-Doo Easter egg that we can all talk about. But most of the time, masked people, mysteries like this, like, we'll wait, we'll watch and see. He could be a puff of green smoke. Who knows? He's not. I'm kidding. But
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, could the forest battle be the last episode? Because we still have to like diverge to Coruscant because the council said so.
I don't know. The more I see from like watch Acolyte, I'm like, I just
watch these spots.
I can't. I'm addicted. It's a sickness.
Because you'd be like dropping like new knowledge from like 1 to 2 second clips, and I'm like, what? I didn't know, huh? And I'm gonna carry with me every viewing, and I'm just like, could they be twins? Because I didn't know the twin theory if I wasn't on Twitter. I didn't read the captions of the trailer.
The twin theory happened prior to even the final trailer. It was during like the first trailer. But anyways, in the poster, it was just reinforced with like the cap. Like the week prior, it was like reinforced. Anyways, what was I saying? So yeah, I just think the main mystery we should be thinking about is with the Brendok stuff and not Chimere or the masked Sith. Even though I think that is very interesting still, though, too. OSHA does not want to do the Ascension, going back to OSHA or the Willow Tree. She does not. Immediately, we understand that she does not want to do what they call the Ascension. But then May grips like the butterfly, by the way, which is very interesting in a very dark side way. OSHA did the same thing, though. Like OSHA held it, let it go. May held it longer, then OSHA screams at her. It's very interesting.
It is funny, but like when I was like looking at it though, I was seeing like OSHA was holding it, and you know, granted, the initial thought is like, don't break it, but it seemed fair. But it did seem like fairly like calm in holding it. But then when May was holding it, it felt like there was like a bit of like a struggle in the creature that I was just like, don't tear these wings off, God.
Exactly. It felt very much like this isn't what we should be pulling the thread for, man.
This is serial killer shit from the childhood. Is it not? They start with animals.
Jesus Christ. Nathan is
Look,
out
she
for
did-
May today.
No, I'm not.
Jesus
I said
Christ.
she didn't do it. I said she didn't do it. She didn't. And that was OSHA's perspective, so we know she didn't.
Nathan's coming for an 8-year-old throat today on the podcast, guys.
I'm coming for the biased perspective of this. As soon as I see May's perspective, I'll be like, that is interesting. I won't be full like fuck OSHA, probably, because she's our hero. But
what if OSHA turns bad?
What
if OSHA turns bad? What if she goes? What if May gives her the join me and OSHA joins her?
She probably has a good reason.
Yeah, I'll support it. I was about to support Ray in The Last Jedi. I was like, hey, take his hand. That's cool.
God, what a time, man. We cut Snoke in half and we did that battle, and you're just like, what the fuck happens next? We haven't gotten the crate yet.
Man, I missed that. The 2017 experience. Can't replicate it.
Is Luke gonna fight an 8 feet tall puppet of Snoke?
Yeah, we thought Luke was going to go to the Supremacy prior to seeing The Last Jedi. We were like, oh, he's going to come to Supremacy. Luke and Snoke battle in Supremacy. Kylo and Rey also battle, but then they reunite. 2017 Star Wars theories bring me back. So OSHA and May, like you said earlier, they repeat their saying, 1, 2, whatever it's called. Tickle my shoe. I don't know.
Tickle my shoe? Now you want to buckle, you got tickle.
Is it buckle my shoe usually?
Yes.
What does that even mean? How do you buckle somebody's shoe? You just trip them over?
I think like they used to be like straps.
Oh, leather buckles and straps. Oh, okay.
History teacher, huh?
I fucking hate everybody. If I don't know anything, oh, aren't you a history major, Mr.
I'm sorry.
Harris? It gives me student flashbacks. Like, I don't know everything about history, guys. Golly, let's talk about
I feel bad.
You should feel
Granted,
bad.
I don't know everything of May's perspective, so you know what? You got me.
You caught me. OSHA and May repeat their saying, and this was cute because this was like the first time they did it willingly. Later on, they had to like the mom forces them to do it and hold each other's hand. But this one, they're like amicable and they hold each other's hand willingly, which is in stark contrast to later in the episode and how we see them in the present day, where OSHA is out for May. So Cordell reprimands them for going too far outside the fortress. We should be hiding, or you should be staying within the boundaries. And she looks around, nothing to see. But Cameron turns over. We see Soul breathing mightily hard. No. But he is behind the tree, hiding, very, very sus.
What happened?
I'm so curious. I assume the Jedi, from my perspective, I think they obviously came to Brendok looking for these children or looking for signs of something going on with this cult. Do they get a mission from Coruscant saying, hey, can you guys look into this? Why does it matter to the Jedi? Like, if this, we'll get into it later on, but it's like they were really spying on children, which is very awkward and not great.
How did the Jedi usually catch wind that there's a Force user around? This is like local.
Yeah, Yoda goes to Cerebro in the Jedi Temple, and he says, "We got him. We got another one." No,
he says we got him.
Him, we got, ladies and gentlemen. Lady
got him,
and
we
gentlemen.
did. Keep in mind, this is all in Cerebro.
Yes. Sorry, I have that Fox Marvel brain right now.
He goes in the Starfield projection from Attack of the Clones.
Yes, exactly. He's like Brendok.
Missing Camino is.
Yeah.
Go find it.
Good luck, Kenobi. I love that scene in Attack of the Clones. He's basically like, children, school this motherfucker. He should know better. Anyways, I don't know how they usually find Jedi or Force children. I guess it's like a calling. I should know this. I read about it all the time, like in canon novels, but I just don't know specifically. But yeah, this one is interesting. How do they get word? Because they're already 8. It's been 8 years past the regular. Usually they're really young. So I'm very curious to see how they got wind of it. That's definitely going to be in the episode, in future episodes. We see a white shot of the community, which looks like. What do you think about this mountain whole area? It looks like a dormant volcano.
It's interesting because it's a very tall wall, to the back side of it, and it like slopes down.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think it also had like a crevice in the indents for the planets to align for the ceremony.
True, yeah, that part too. Yeah, like I was listening to another podcast. They said it reminded them of a dormant volcano, given like how everything erupts in the second act here, in the third act. But also, it reminded me of like the Hoover Dam. Like it just looks like a dam mountain kind of thing.
Looks like a damn mountain.
It's like a damn mountain. So I'm very curious about the architecture of it all. Very cool though. The people bow to them in reverence as OSHA and May walk. Like these are very much, they are the only children, and they are looked upon as like deities or royalty, basically within their community, which is very interesting.
Most natural birth in over a millennia.
Right. And again, it gets mentioned later, but they are the only children. We'll talk about that in a second. But I mentioned good cop, bad cop, as we get introduced to not only Coral, who was introduced prior, but Anastasia, who Coral says, Anastasia, they have been wandering outside the boundaries, reprimand them, basically. And Anastasia is very nonchalant, like, hey, you guys should get a snack or get a treat. And then, they walk off, and then that's when Coral tells her that she's worried they won't be safe if OSHA keeps walking away. If OSHA is found out, their livelihood is in jeopardy. Basically, that's what Coral was trying to say. OSHA and then Anastasia responds with OSHA's just testing her boundaries as a child, right? And this is very interesting. This is what I like about Anastasia throughout this episode. She's very affirmative and very understanding of children going through adolescence. She's very respectful of OSHA's wishes later in the episode. At 8 years old, children are beginning to know, right from wrong. And they're also getting to know their own, to make choices, right? They're starting to know, hey, this choice will lead to a bad path. This choice will lead to a good path, even at the age of 8. And some people, even in modern society, they don't look upon 8-year-olds as like mature enough to make these choices, but they are. Again, children are a lot smarter than people think. That's been a very common saying, and psychology proves that. And I like how at 8 years old, it seemed like the right time for OSHA to be expressing these thoughts of like, I don't want to be this. I want to do this, which makes it all the more interesting that Soul and other Jedi were taken or received by the Jedi at 4 years old. 4 is extremely young from even understanding right from wrong. And that's what makes it very interesting in terms of Jedi getting children at this young of an age, because that way they can bring them into the Jedi temple and kind of affirm their views and make them forget about their own families, which is both sad, tragic, but also, I guess that's just the way of the Jedi.
Are we the baddies?
It's interesting.
Obi-Wan had a brother, I heard.
People look back on that like that's a very sad scene when he's talking to little Leia about like, maybe I had a brother, but I don't even remember what he looks like. I'm like, that's sad. That's very sad. Is this the way it should be? It's the way it's always been, but is that the right way? I don't think so. But it leads to Jedi who are very good, right? Like even the Republic, Avar, Chris, Stellan, Geos, like Elzar Mann. These are great Jedi born within the temple, basically. They're 4 years old. I was listening to a podcast. They're like, aren't they still wet in the bed at 4 years old? Like, who takes care of these children when they get there super, super young, like Soul?
It's got to be droids, right?
Droids? Like, they have a whole Jedi, daycare, preschool.
Kinda, I guess. I mean,
it's really weird.
It's supposed to teach a lesson, then boom, it's lunchtime.
Right?
The word lunch is in Star Wars.
So I'm just very curious about that whole thing. And again, I don't think it's either good or necessarily bad. It's the way it is, but the way it is also can be very bad. So I don't want to draw a line there. But what I'm saying is,
method, I guess.
It's their method. It's proven to be successful, obviously, because again, there have been very great Jedi who have been raised by the Jedi, basically, taken when they were 3, 4, 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know if that's the way they should continue doing it. Like, granted, if I see Rey's movie and she's grabbing a kid when she's 4 years old, I'm like, maybe we should do things differently, Rey. But like, yeah. It's never too late to change, basically.
It's interesting perspective, right? Where it's like, it's seemingly any Jedi has the ability to just like walk away whenever they want. But you can't just offer that to a child, a very young child. Where would they go?
That's a great point.
How would they make their way back to their families?
Which is the Jedi perspective, right? And we'll get to that in terms of like, that's why they want to train them. That way, if they are free, we don't have a chaotic force who's running around. And if it's not trained by the Jedi, who knows what can happen, right? They can be grabbed by a dark sider or somebody doing bad things. They become a thief, right?
Yeah.
Use the force for hijinks, and that's not good. You don't want a force-sensitive bounty hunter. I guess that's the Jedi perspective. But anyways, I love NSA. I really like, OSHA'S just testing your boundaries. And then we get the thread talk here, which is very interesting, as OSHA and May sit down for a thread discussion from Mother Anastasia. All things are part of the same thread woven through all of existence. That right there lines up perfectly well with what Yoda and Obi-Wan talked about in A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back in terms of the Force flowing through everyone. But I think, here we go. Some call it a force and claim to use it. We know the thread is not a power you wield. Pull the thread, it changes everything. It ties you to your destiny, binds you to others. And this part's very interesting to me. I think Yoda talks about the Force in Empire Strikes Back as being something that lives, breathes inside all of us. We all are part of the living Force.
The tree, the rock.
Right. Everything is inside the Force. You are one with the Force. You are one with life, nature, even death, right? You're one with the Force. The thread, on the other hand, we see the Jedi wield the Force pull, Force push, levitation. Like they wield it benevolently, but they do wield it. The thread, on the other hand, is something where I think Anastasia closely aligns it with more so destiny. And in this case, other individuals, specific individuals, in the case of like May and OSHA, it seems a bit more, how do I explain it? More binding than the Force. They both are very freeing, but this one really directly tells you how it ties you to your destiny, binds you to others. Pull the thread, it changes everything. Which makes the onus is on the owner of the thread. Pull the thread, it changes everything. Where I feel like if you pull the thread of the Force, it might not have as big of an impact, right? At least perspective-wise. If one wields the Force in their own way, it won't have a chaotic impact the way maybe if you're in the thread, it might, because you pull the thread, it changes everything. It changes your destiny. That part really intrigued me. Granted, they could just be very similar. I'm just talking about my ass, but for me, it feels like there's a slight difference in how they perceive it.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting. I suppose there are like, who's to say there's just like these handful of set ways to interact with the Force itself. It took the Jedi a while. It took Qui-Gon to discover you can come back in a physical manifestation. There's a way to that.
Exactly. Can you do? Yeah,
there's absolutely untapped like potential to explore. I mean, the witches can possess people. Outside of like maybe some like deep dark magic that maybe like Palpatine would be fucking with. I don't really see anybody else doing stuff like that
with the Force. Exactly. And that part, that possession aspect, I was going to get to that, but let's talk about it now. That connects with what Anastasia says here in terms of it binds you to others. That part of it could connect directly to the Black Eyes possession aspect. Possession is, in other words, binding you to somebody else. You have puppets on strings, as Ultron likes to say.
Yeah.
And like it binds you to somebody else. You control, or you control their actions, and that can just have them be catatonic, as Torben was, or it can use it to attack somebody else, as we might theorize might be happening later on in the season. So it's very interesting. The threads, they have so much power, in fact, that Coral does say later on in the episode that, like, let's take him out now while the moon's out. Let's go. It's like,
Yeah.
Some of them, they say like we will lose, but others say like Coral is pretty affirmative that they might take him on and win. It's just 4 Jedi, she says, which was very.
Who would miss them? The Order is sending them to the legions.
Right? Yeah, I paused it. That was very funny when I first watched it. I was like, who would miss them? I'm like, granted, Jedi, there's hundreds upon thousands of Jedi. We know this, but for example, if I'm best friend with Nathan, Nathan's like, hey, see you later on Tuesday, Evan. I'm going to go to Brendok real quick. I'm like, cool, see you later, Nathan. Nathan doesn't come back from Brendok. I'm like, hey, where's Nathan? I go check the archives. Oh, 4 of the Jedi were with him. They haven't come back either? Squad, let's roll on in. Like, it stampedes because people have those connections within the Jedi Order. These are not 4 loners. Master and Dara means she either had a pad or she does have a Padawan on Torben. But it's like she has people that respect her, that know her. If she goes missing, people will notice. People will notice. So Coral, you're a little bit wrong there. It's very funny. And again, this is mentioned in like the High Republic as well, in terms of like one Jedi goes missing and steamrolls into like, hey, we got to check this shit out. So that was very funny. But when they're talking about it, May blocks Inasea's push with the thread, while OSHA stays behind. Again, OSHA is afraid to use a thread. Why? Even in the training session, is she afraid to use a thread? Mainly because, again, reinforcing, she doesn't want to be part of the Ascension. If she uses the thread, again, she's binded. She just got over the whole speech where Inasea is like, you use a thread, you're binded to the others. OSHA doesn't want that. She wants her individuality. She wants to be free, basically. Not saying that she's being held captive here, but she just wants to be different. And then she's
not
scared.
a phase, moms.
Say it again.
It's not a phase, moms.
It's not a phase. It's just a phase. There's a Big and Benjamin song called "Phase" that I really like. Anyways, they hear something.
Music more, dude.
What?
We have to talk music more.
Dude, it would be a 5-minute conversation. So all I talk about is like 3 Days Grace, Evanescence. It would just be early 2000s rock band.
We can fill 2 hours with Linkin Park. Okay, absolutely.
Okay.
I have a music.
But this part was interesting, dude. Like they after that happens, OSHA or Core was like, OSHA, I expect better of you. But in between the sentence, they hear something. Core goes like this. They hear like a clanging, and I paused it, and the subtitles said like distant clanging or distant sound, whatever. And it says they hear something. Coral goes over to the generator area where it pans out, and you see like this huge electrical wall. Sparks are there. It's like a generator room. And they said, and I'm thinking like, could this be another thing that we'll see later on in the season? That from the Jedi perspective, they do something up on top, and then you look down, and that's when Coral enters the room. Very much so, Prisoners of Azkaban, where it's like certain things. I got hit in the back of the head with a fucking nut, and then it's just
did what? Good night.
Yeah, good night. It was like, and then later on in the season, or later on in the movie, you hear like Hermione was the one who threw it at herself. So it's like we could see the same thing here. Not not time and stuff, but just like a different perspective where she hears something. It could be the Jedi. Later on in the chaos of the night, one of the witches says like the Jedi sliced through the bridge or sliced through the platform. This could be them slicing the platform.
But that's an interesting thing, right? Is like the Jedi slice the platform. Why would they do that? On a win, like what, to show authority and power? No, they wouldn't do that. What happened? Did they do something? Did the witches do something? Did somebody else do something to frame the perspective?
Oh,
even that generator bit you're talking about is like maybe that's Sith man working his magic.
Yes.
Like
Dark
Who's the
Teeth.
frog? Dark Teeth. I love it. It makes me think of Dr. Teeth from the Muppets.
Yes.
In the name, you know.
I
That's
don't watch the Muppets.
You don't watch the Muppets. You don't know the lead singer of Electric Mayhem.
No. I didn't grow up with the Muppets, guys. I'm sorry. I haven't seen a single Muppets movie.
What?
I've seen bits and pieces on TV. They weren't my jam.
Evan.
What?
No.
What? They weren't my jam.
You're missing so much.
Is the Muppets the same thing with like the Cookie Monster? That the Muppets?
There's a streamline, yeah. Yeah, it's that's the Henson production type.
Okay.
Bit.
Yeah.
I mean, you haven't seen Muppet Treasure Island?
I've seen Treasure Planet.
Tim Curry's Long John Silver. It's amazing.
I've seen his It.
You haven't seen Muppet Christmas Carol?
I've seen Santa Claus is Coming to Town.
Michael Caine is Scrooge. It's amazing. It's amazing because he treats the Muppets as like real fucking serious actors. He's so serious. It's perfect.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, Bob. So yeah, we'll see what's going on with that generator. But the generator seems to be the one that really sparks up and blows up once the nighttime chaos happens. They go back to their scene or to the room. It's beautifully lit room. I love the scene where it's like light shining in through the room. Also reinforces she does not want to be a witch. And then May says like, Jedi are good, the Jedi are bad, that kind of thing. And I love how Anastasia says like, tell her you love her. And it's a very sweet scene. That's when they get forced to put their hands together in contrast to the beginning of the episode. And Anastasia tells them the thread tied you together before you were born. Again, this seems like the big impact on the thread. And I think from Anastasia and from May's perspective, it's very benevolent. The thread tied you together since you were born. You guys
cut me loose.
Right? You guys should love each other. You guys should be with each other forever. But yeah, OSHA's like basically cut me loose. She doesn't want to be there, which is sad from May's perspective. Like, imagine your sister doesn't want to be with you anymore. Oh. But it's also OSHA's perspective, and that's what she wants. And Anastasia has to grapple with that. And she says, like, that's what you think, OSHA, but the galaxy is not a place that welcomes women like us. Very powerful line. Anastasia then says, I want you to stay special, which is very interesting. If she goes out in the outside world, is she less special, or is she so special that she gets persecuted? There's like a danger in having Anastasia leave, even before the Jedi arrive, even before that becomes an option. So yeah, May says she shares everything with OSHA. Oh, this is when they're getting the hair tied together. Again, ready for the ascension. May says she shares everything with OSHA, and OSHA does not. And OSHA that's in response to OSHA not sharing the drawing with her. She said, "What are you drawing?" She said, "I don't want to fucking tell you." I shouldn't say that verbatim.
Like, why would you want to keep your own things? Why don't you want to share everything? Why? Why not? Why would you want to have adventures and shit?
Yeah, it's very funny because I have a twin brother.
Yeah,
but I never felt like we never really hid things from each other. I mean, there are things that we don't talk to each other about, but it's never like you're not looking at my drawing or shared everything. Like there wasn't those strict boundaries or not boundaries. It was very fluid.
Yeah.
So it's just very cool watching May and OSHA have this dynamic. She said, "Don't. Isn't it weird that we're the only children here?" And I love how the hairdressers look at each other like, like.
Anyway,
yeah, that's true. Yeah. But yeah, they are the only children. I wonder, did they have children prior to getting persecuted, or are they the first children in like 8 years since they left, since they've been disbanded, or since they fled away? It's very curious.
Well, it's interesting because like the entire group consisted of the entire coven is consisted of women, right?
Yes.
So I guess
no men in my Star Wars.
Yeah. Imagine if they were born male. It's like, oh no.
Do it
Put
again.
too much in the pot. I don't know.
Too much sugar and spice.
Everything's not so nice. But that is kind of interesting though, like because it took obviously like a great effort to manifest the creation of these children.
It did, and yeah. And Leslie, I did read an interview. Leslie did say we'll learn not way more. We'll learn more about it. I wish I got her exact lines, but she says we'll learn more about it, but not everything will be answered. That's very interesting.
That's how I want it.
I think, and so not everything will be answered specifically. She won't say like I put 2 quarters of lemonade, 1 ounce of milk. Like she's not gonna give us exact instructions of how she created these children, but more will be revealed about that. So she doesn't want people actually going through and creating their own children, obviously.
Right.
She doesn't want to make a cookbook.
Under the blood moon.
Yeah. So let's see here. OSHA yearns for freedom still. May says, everything I need is here, which is very sad. Because May's like, why wouldn't you leave? Everything I need is here. And that's just so sad because when that gets taken away, when that gets burned to a crisp, and she wakes up and even OSHA's gone, it's only going to fuel her anger. Everything you need was here, but here is gone. So where do you go from here? And that's when the dark side arises. Fear, pain, hatred. The
rest.
The rest. Power of one chant at the beginning. And then Anastasia says, before they chant again, Anastasia says they were hunted, persecuted, forced into hiding because some would consider our power dark or unnatural. She says we were blessed with the miracle of life. And as she says that last part, life, that's when OSHA and May rise from the bottom of the steps. But I like the part. Again, we referenced it before, obviously, but hunted, persecuted, forced into hiding. Man, I really want it. That might not be answered in this show, obviously, but I wouldn't mind like a Coven comic book about like Mother Anastasia, like a one shot maybe. I'll never forget we got a one shot in Solo, like a one shot mystery Solo coming. Who's gonna be about? And it was about Beckett. I'm like, come on.
Did you read the DJ comic?
No, that was bad too. I did read it, but it wasn't that good. And Beckett one shot was bad too. The only good sequel trilogy era one shot that I liked was like the Phasma, and it wasn't even a Phasma one shot. It was like a 5-issue miniseries going over her after she pressed a button in Force Awakens. Somebody saw her do it. She had to kill somebody who saw her do that, and then she makes her way to Donald Gleason.
Didn't she also have like 2 or 3 novels?
She had 2 novels, yeah. One took place, and they both took place before Force Awakens.
Wasn't one Journey to the Last Jedi?
It did come out prior to Last Jedi, but I don't know if it took place prior to Last Jedi.
That's just a catchy title they put in.
Maybe it did. I didn't read the book. I should. I have the book and no, that's not it. It's in my room. But I have the book and the sequel in my room that I have not read. It's been nearly 8 years now. How are we getting closer and closer to 10 years of TLJ? That's mind-boggling to me.
That's you.
But yeah. So blessed with the miracle of life. Insert the power of one chant once again as they rise. And I like the chant. It's the cringiest thing in Star Wars history.
People are really like going after it, like, look at this bullshit. And I'm like, what the fuck is this ridiculous, weird shit? And I'm just like, this is so insensitive to like other cultures that can align pretty similarly.
It really is. But even outside of that, like, yeah, I didn't even think about that, but it is very insensitive. But even if you think it's cringy and corny, that's what Star Wars is. Like every single Star Wars movie has some weird shit in it. Like there's some cringy aspects to every Star Wars movie. You know, when Finn goes into Force Awakens and aliens' ass hits the water, it's like there's some cringy, dumb things. I don't care about them. It's what makes Star Wars cool. It was a science fiction, lighthearted jam to it. It started all the way back in the special edition with the Return of the Jedi, with the whole beginning of Jabba's palace. Like, that whole thing is cringy as hell.
Yeah,
But
that is one of my earliest memories. Like, you know, have you ever had an instance where like you're watching something and you're like, well, you're like, but like you're like watching because you're just like, huh.
yeah.
And then you get that feeling like someone's about to walk in the room and see you watching this, and you're just like,
Yeah. Like, it's weird. People are watching this Acolyte show like they never saw bad dialogue in Star Wars. I'm not saying this show has bad dialogue, or I don't think so personally. I don't think this episode has bad dialogue. But people are asking if they do think so, that's their prerogative. But it's like, not that the Acolyte's the only thing with bad dialogue. Like, we didn't just watch Mando season 3. or like Attack of the Clones, any kind of Star Wars. Every Star Wars movie has bad dialogue. I love The Last Jedi. There's some bad dialogue in there too.
every property has some weird stuff. Even like,
yeah,
I love, you and I adore to death, to the grave, Rebels.
Oh yeah,
Season one's a little silly.
Season 1 is a little silly. Remember the one episode where the droid like gets left in hyperspace, or left in the space, and then the
AP5, yeah.
AP5 gets left in space, and then like the weird
that moment's goated.
I love it. People hated that shit when it aired. Remember, they're like, Dave Filoni, what is he doing? What is he doing?
I don't remember. I wasn't following like.
Oh, you weren't. People were all. That's when I still followed like the Schmoes and Kristen Harloff, and I used to follow them. They hated that shit. I was like, I didn't. It's like when Jay and I watch TV and there's some weird stuff happening, we're just like, oh, okay, whatever, we can move on. But people are really just like, I mean, I didn't love it. It's like 2 seconds though. It's like 30, 20 seconds. It's like, okay, cool. In general, I love the episode. Like, people decided like this was just some crazy power of one chant. This was ridiculous. Like, I don't want to get any more fire to idiots out there, but like,
yeah.
Again, I'm not calling you an idiot if you didn't like the episode. I don't give a fuck if you didn't like the episode. But some of the reasoning out there, I'm like, come on. I heard one today is like, how can fire spread on rocks and stuff like that? Like, what are you, a scientist now? Like, we don't know. They had a generator. If it blows up, the confined isn't just going to stay still. It's going to break apart and spread.
That reminds me of like whenever I'll hear Neil deGrasse Tyson give criticisms on a movie, and it's because it's inaccurate science, and I'm like, dude,
what are you doing? What are you? He's not doing that shit with. Oh my god,
Evan, God, because he made like he was doing like a tier list on sci-fi movies, and I was watching and I was like, oh, Evan be pissed when he Arrival. He talked about Arrival.
What did he say about my shit?
I'm trying to remember. It was something about
is that on YouTube? Can I find that?
It's he uploaded it. But I was like, oh no, because he was like I think it was like in comparison to like the fate of the world and like cracking down to like these specific type of scientists, and also he was like, they tried to crack this code and yet no one thought to reverse it from the perspective they were writing, and I'm like, that doesn't fucking matter.
Oh my god, Arrival, best movie of all time. Anyways, the Power of One chant peak, witches, loved it. Didn't matter to me. We do get expanded names here. Mayho and Varosha. I think that was very interesting. Mayho, whatever. But Varosha, it was just it made it very intriguing to me. I didn't expect to see expanded names here.
They went on the wrong paths, Evan.
Yeah, you never know.
You know how fucked up it would be if the show ends where like they just switch.
That'd be wild. I still, I don't know. I still want to see like OSHA'S arc at the end of the episode or at the end of the season. Do they get together? Can they switch?
Do they dual wield the same saber back and forth?
Oh, that'd be cool. May doesn't have a saber.
No,
but OSHA
does somewhere.
OSHA does somewhere over the rainbow.
Someone was theorizing because like a song released. Somebody had a tie-in song to the Acolyte, and like the
Victoria Monet.
Yeah, and the image poster had like a purple light dividing May and OSHA, and it's like, what if she has purple sabers? She breaks out. Oh, it'd be cool. If
they give OSHA a purple lightsaber, again, best show ever. Like I would lose my mind. What color do you think her lightsaber would be? Probably blue. I'm getting blue vibes from OSHA.
It's funny. Like every time I like try to think outside of the box of a saber, I'm always like yellow. Sorry, somebody.
Yeah, I don't think they would give the same color as Yord's lightsaber. Yord seems very distinctive with his yellow lightsaber.
Yeah. Orange would be interesting, of like a wavering to like kind of almost close to red. But
I could see orange. I think orange or blue. Jackie has green, and what we've seen from Jackie so far, she's very much like by the rule book. Very not saying all green lightsaber wielders are by the rule book, definitely not. But like people who follow the Force closely seem to be more greenish. But yeah, it doesn't matter really. But yeah, I see blue or orange.
Reality is realizing I probably wouldn't have a green saber even though I want one.
I wouldn't either, probably. I always give Cal the white lightsaber, so maybe that's OSHA'S. In Jedi Survivor stuff, I always give him the white one.
That'd be interesting because there's a Jedi in the High Republic. With like it's like a 2-saber hilt, isn't it?
Yeah.
Does it fold out or something?
No, that was. Oh no, I'm thinking of 2 Jedi now with white sabers. Orla Jareni had a white saber, but yeah, it was like boom, but she used it like she dual wielded it or two-handed it. Yeah,
that's cool.
But then like if it's like this 1 and 2 once you like just clip it together, but then she could break it and
break it doesn't just like fold out.
I think it does. I don't know. It's all book stuff. I don't know. But she was cool. She was one of the
best. Dark Ray had one.
Yeah. I miss Dark Ray. Good times.
All 60 seconds.
All 60 seconds over, exactly. Nostalgia, baby.
Shark teeth, baby. Shark Ray.
Rojas says, before that, May vows to protect the secrets of the Coven and their legacy to Anastasia. She says, I do. And a mark is born on May's head. This was fascinating. I always thought it was just, tattoo from the Coven, but it was born from her, similar to how the tattoos were born from magic in the Night Sisters, what we just saw with Homegirl in Tales of the Empire.
Yeah. Don't move. I'll figure this out. Morgan Elsbeth.
Thank you. I was gonna get there. Just give me 10 more seconds. I would have got there.
I was like,
Marietta Little Lamb. No. Thanks. Fucking Morgan Elsbeth. Her tattoos arose from them with magic, but then also disappeared when they all died. This time, though, May's people all died, and her tattoos stayed. I thought that was very fascinating. OSHA says, I do hesitantly, but before I do, before the mark can be originated on her head, they hear something. Somebody comes in through the night and says, there's a troll in the main hall. No.
Troll in the dungeon. It's funny. It's funny watching the scene. It's like it's obviously like it's gonna break the moment, but she's already like kind of already starting to harness on her forehead. If I was her, I would have been like, finish.
Yeah, like
you're too late, Jedi.
You squeeze this in there. Okay, cool. Hey guys, what's up? Just chilling. That's funny.
Oh, she's just like, oh no.
Like, get it off! Like, oh shit. No. Yeah, she has a huge mark on her head. Yikes.
She's Darth Teeth.
Oh god. Oh, it's just Darth Teeth, yes.
Is your Darth Teeth?
Yes, definitely.
Could you fucking imagine?
I would love it, honestly.
Yord? Oh, I want that though, because I love him.
Me too, he's great. One comes out and they say the Jedi sliced the platform. They'll be on their way shortly. And then that's when the other one get their bows and arrows out. And Anastasia is like, no violence. And she said, we'll handle this with no violence. The Jedi walk in, and Dara, Torben, Sol, and Kawanaka, the Chicago Bulls of the Jedi. Just kidding.
It looks pretty like intense. I mean, everybody looks intense when you got a fucking 9-foot Wookiee behind you.
Yeah, Sol's coming in all like, what's going on? Torben's the only one who's like, I'm not supposed to be here. I wonder if this is his first mission. If it was, yikes.
For him, he got
For
fucking
him.
got.
He got scarred his first mission. Yeah, not great, Bob.
Even before that, he gets possessed, and then when he snaps out, he's like, huh?
Yeah, somebody did ask like turban the Padawan, and then within 16 years he becomes a Jedi Master. That's a very fast time, but like I can see that happening. Padawan for 4 more years, Knight, and then he becomes a Master within the next between 10 years or so. Like it's possible.
He went from Ewan McGregor to Alec Guinness very quickly.
Very quickly, yeah. I mean, nightmares will do that to you.
It's been stressful.
Stressful. Indara, this is great. This whole scene is delicious. Indara comes in and says, we thought this place was uninhabited, sorry. And NSA is like BS. It's kind of like the was that one Ryan Johnson show on Amazon?
Poker Face?
Poker Face. He's like, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. Where did you ever watch Poker Face yet? Have you not watched that yet?
I have not.
Oh, it's a great show. But I was like, check your Amazon Prime.
All that time with Peacock, I didn't watch.
Oh, it's on Peacock, not Amazon Prime. Yeah. Peacock's cheap.
It is, and yet I canceled to save money.
The things you do for money, of course.
Pause.
Came out.
Say pause.
Came out. My students do, so I don't know. Are you 12 years old, Nathan? Indara lies. Yeah, it says it's uninhabited. And NSA is like, oh, the all-knowing Jedi made a mistake. I find that very hard to believe. Loved it. Like Indara, come on, that's like the worst. Like we thought you were uninhabited. Like, no, we saw your ass earlier today. So, anyways, or didn't see him, but yeah. Anyways, by the way, I mentioned Indara in my notes here in Stars.com. They say Indara had 2 dots, 2 eye tattoos next to her eye
in the
present day. In the past it was just 1. Maybe it's a sign of like these are important memories or important events, and she could have gotten 1 after this incident because it really affected Indara. Maybe
I like that.
But yeah, OSHA meets Soul, and Soul, or they say, Coral says, like, we have no children here. Also, another bold-faced lie. There's all this lying back and forth, and Kelnaka tilts his head.
The cuts of Kelnaka, just like I see them.
I'm not an idiot. I'm 9 feet tall. I'm towering over all you.
Stand closer together, guys.
Yeah, it's like they should be like, what are you talking about?
No, so May starts openly talking. May and OSHA.
Loud as hell, right? Like, I don't want to go down there. I think there's a Jedi down there. It's like,
shut the fuck up.
Yeah, shut up. We're in church here.
They're gonna hear us. You shut up.
No. And then basically they see OSHA. OSHA walks down there. Soul talks to OSHA and says, so yeah, Soul is shocked by the new mark on May, and claims after they invite May down there as well. They said, "Where's the other one?" Basically, they're looking out for 2, which is very interesting. It's like when they got word of this, do they really want 2? Was that their prerogative to get like OSHA and May? I'll come back to that in a second. But Soul is shocked by the new mark, and claimed that they so shocked by the new mark. Instantly, one of them says, like, they were watching us. How did he know? They're here to take our children. Soul immediately was like, we do not take children. Which had like I'm sure everybody in the audience had like a huge reaction to that. Because, yeah, exactly. That face, like, you do. And again, I don't want to say the Jedi are like kidnapping. They're not Cad Bane motherfuckers over here, right? They're not kidnapping children. They do, obviously, again, with parents' permission. But when the Jedi are here to take a Force-sensitive child, it's like a lot of peer pressure, per se, for the parents. Not saying, again, they're taking children. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just, it's weird. You do take children. You do. Own up to it. Right? But, of course, because they say, like, it's the kid's choice. That's the Jedi way. It's like the kids are choosing to come with us. Parents choose to let them come with us. What the for? Do you have a choice in the matter, right? It's weird. Anyways,
I was like looking back on like that flashback of Plo Koon coming for Ahsoka, and I'm like, Ahsoka looks like she's one.
right? Yeah, like Ahsoka's very, very, very young. But then like the mom was like very happy with it. So yeah.
Cut to Anakin with Qui-Gon though is just like Anakin's got no good here.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you can see why Shmi was like, please take him, please get him out of this.
Anakin was
give him a
ready
better
to
life.
leave. Yeah. The only bad thing was that they couldn't just take Shmi with them. That was the only bad thing.
It's really Phantom Menace is really good at like creating the circumstance and reasoning of like these barriers.
Fantastic stuff there. So asks OSHA, or so shows OSHA his lightsaber and calls. And I thought this was very interesting because it's like a very big call to adventure. Obi-Wan shows Luke the lightsaber in A New Hope, or when Maz showed Rey lightsaber. Like, these are all big call to adventure moments. This is your time. Take this item, and this is your call to adventure, a new life, basically. But it doesn't feel that way with this one. This should be a call to adventure for OSHA. She's yearning, like a main character, right? Like, she is yearning for the outside world, like a princess, i.e. Frozen, right? Like, I want to go to the outside world. I want to do X, Y, and Z. I don't want to stay here. She gets the call to adventure from Soul. Everything's going fine, but it just feels differently when Soul gives her the lightsaber, and she's like, with all the baggage behind her, it feels more tumultuous. Like, it feels more like messy in this instance. It's not as benevolent. Given
it's also
forth.
Yeah, it's also like you could also see like a different, like probably Mayish perspective, or like even the witch's perspective, where it's just like, hey kid, it's like, we don't take children. Hey kid, you like this? You like this? Look cool? You'll come with us,
right? Yeah, it's like, look at this big weapon of death and destruction.
Yeah,
it's like, hey, does it look cool? You want to play with it? Like, like,
didn't ignite it, granted, but it's
yeah,
just
of
like,
course. But
you look at it like, it's like, because he's immediately like, would you like to see if you'd be?
Yeah, it comes across weird. But granted, again, from OSHA's perspective,
she likes our Lord and Savior.
Yeah, our Lord and Savior, the Force.
Did you hear this?
And then again, OSHA, I respect OSHA because she really is infatuated with this. She really likes it. Two things can be the same. I think a lot of criticism for this episode is like, Jedi are painted in such a bad way. And like Nathan and I are talking about, it is a very weird look for the Jedi, giving them the saber, the whole back and forth here. We'll get another perspective, the Jedi's perspective. And B, two things can be the same. The Jedi can look weird, but OSHA can also accept it. Every piece of the way, OSHA is very much like, yeah, I like this. I like this lightsaber. I like the Jedi. I want to be with them. So two things can be the same. They can be very bit sus or weird, messy, but somebody else can also be infatuated with that just because it's a new life for her.
I had an interesting thought. Can you imagine if like we get to like something like May's perspective and we see like these moments where like they ask like, OSHA, do you want to like do this? Do you want to be a Jedi? And like, very openly when we watch her, she's like, yes, I do. This is what I want. I want to do this. Can you imagine seeing like the actual perspective? Maybe OSHA's a bit more like reserved. Like you could tell there's like an intrigue, but like it's not as projected, because from her perspective, of course, like that is what she wants. So her recollection would be, this is what I want. But other people may view it as like, she seemed uncertain. I think you pushed her into this. Jedi, this is bad, what you're doing.
That tracks. Yeah, that tracks. I would definitely be skeptical of that if I was like of the Witch's Covenant. I'd be like, I don't know, Jedi coming in here and all of a sudden OSHA's acting like this. Granted, we know OSHA's always been acting like this, but it's like, in that instant, I can see them succumbing to that fear. It's very natural. It's very plausible there. So ask OSHA if she wants to be tested, and that's when again OSHA's like, yeah, I want to be tested. She kind of looks at Anastasia, but then she says it again. She wants to be tested. Before that, Anastasia grips Torben's mind. That was a big moment. Torben's eyes go black. We've seen this again in the past with young May. Eyes go black, and this is the second time we've seen this happen. And Anastasia kind of threatens them, say like, if you wish to, like, you guys please leave, or else your Padawan's going to be stuck like this. And then that's when OSHA has to really calm her down and be like, no, I accept. It's okay. I'll go with them. And it says, like, I got to talk to my elders about this. But basically, they have no choice. And the interesting part here, can't believe I missed it. I missed Indara talking about, like, you can't lie that under Republic law, the Jedi have the right to test. Oh, yeah, right here. The Jedi have the right to test potential Padawans with your permission. And I'm like, wow.
They have their permission.
like Jedi have is that Republic law, like all Force sensitives, Jedi have the right to just automatically go in there and test them? Are they the only people? It's very interesting to me. I'm like, this is new laws I'm hearing about now.
How tired are you guys into this government?
Right? Yeah, I was like,
which is also not too, unfortunately, dissimilar to our countries. Like, oh, you separate church and state, and they don't.
They're really not. Exactly right. Like, I solemnly swear when you go to church, you got to swear to something, right? And granted, you're allowed to swear to other things when you go to court. But like the predominant thing is the Bible.
Our president's sworn in on a Bible.
Yeah. And again, I think you're allowed to swear to something else, which just hardly ever happens. But yeah,
I swear on my beach ball.
I'm very curious to see if this was still a law back in my High Republic days, the cases of the books and stuff like that, or maybe even earlier. When did this?
My High Republic,
right? When did this start becoming a thing? But yeah, it was just it felt very imposing, oppressive. Where she says, like, the Jedi, you cannot lie. The Jedi have the right to test potential Padawans. I'm like, that's a lot of leeway to do a lot of things with a lot of Force sensitives. And Solo wants both. He's like, I want to test both of them. Cut to the meeting. Mother Coral says, we make our move tonight where the moons are high. I mentioned this earlier. So yeah, Mother Coral thinks that she can go against the Jedi here. And the other Covens don't really agree, though, especially Anastasia. But somebody else says, we don't have a choice. And Anastasia backs him up by saying, like, this is OSHA's choice, OSHA's decision. If she wants to get tested, we'll have to let her get tested. Again, I love Anastasia respecting OSHA's wishes here.
Yeah, it's also really nice to see, like, the like other Coven members are not just being like so blindly like, yeah, take the fight to them. They're just like, well, hold on, this could be bad for us. Let's think about this. Yeah,
people know the Jedi's reputation. Even if there are 4 of them, the 4 Jedi's are very strong, especially if one of them is a master. If 2 of them are masters, we're probably screwed. But yeah, like, even strength-wise, it's not risky. They're like, that's when Coral mentioned, like, it's just 4 Jedi. What's the worst that can happen? It's like, yeah. There's the Coven, like you said, the Coven aren't all one echo chamber. And to say it's disagreeing, some people are disagreeing with Coral, some people are agreeing with Coral. It's like, it's a very complex situation here. That's why I love the episode so much. But then as soon as Anastasia says, like, let OSHA do what she wants, she's just a child. Coral says, but these girls are special. I carried them. Anastasia says, I created them. Like, Jalen and I's face when this happened, I was like, wait, what is happening? Like, this was mind-blowing to me.
Which is funny when I, like, look at the perspective of, like, if it's a man or a woman, it's like, if a man said, like, oh, I came from me, and it's like, yeah, but I grew them, motherfucker.
Yeah. Oh yeah, good point. It's like I helped create them. I gave them the sperm counts and everything. It's like, no, they came out of my stomach.
I fired the gun.
Yeah. So that was very much. And then Carl was like, I give you leeway, Anastasia, because Anastasia is like the queen of the Coven, or whatever you want to call it, the chief of the Coven. But yeah, that part was interesting. Again, Leslie said we'll get to learn more about this, but I love this part. And I don't want to give anything to the haters out there, but, like, again, this is very different from what happened with Anakin. Even on first watch for me, I was like, oh, wow, this is huge. I instantly was like, people are going to hate this. People are going to hate this. As soon as I heard it, I was like, people are going to hate this. But I love the fuck out of this. This is so fascinating. I would have never expected from the first episodes, OSHA and May, they're very special, sure. But, like, born from somebody else, that's brand new. That's very interesting. And I automatically knew this was different from Anakin. Anakin's born from the Force people,
that was
not from a natural human being.
That was the Force intentionally creating Anakin, whereas this is somebody manipulating the Force into life.
Manipulating the thread, into life, which is completely different, which is why we'll learn more about that. It's two completely different things. It doesn't make your main character like, oh, this ruins Anakin for... What the fuck?
It absolutely doesn't. It's just like, it's still the Force itself making him. Like, nobody made Anakin.
It's weird. I've seen some friends of mine who I'm very good friends with, and they're like, man, I'm mixed on this episode because it makes episode 1 feel less than. I'm like, I respect your opinion. I really do. And on one perspective, I can kind of see that, but I really don't. I really can't see that. It's like, for me, they're just two completely different things. Like, Anakin, and nothing about Anakin's birth made him special. What made him special was just like his high midichlorian count, everything like that. Like, even the prophecy, the child of prophecy, had nothing to say like born from nothing, or born without no father. It's like there was a chosen one, and Qui-Gon, after hearing that, figured like, oh, this might be it. But that wasn't in the prophecy. It didn't say born from the Force or born from nothingness or whatever. Like, Anakin's specialness isn't diminished from this episode at all. And they're not trying to diminish Anakin's legacy, guys. Anakin still does your favorite things, right? Anakin still defeats the Sith.
It is funny. I saw a tweet that was like, it diminished Anakin's legacy, and it was like Anakin's legacy and his fucking like youngling slaughter and Rogue One ending and all that. The Death Star.
Legacy, this guy.
This is your king.
People said the same thing about the prequels. Like, it diminishes Anakin's or Vader's impact. They make him a kid? What?
Yeah, that whole thing.
Like, what? They made him a kid? They made him such a B in Attack of the Clones. Such a B. Like, okay. People have been shitting on Anakin. Luckily, we had like the Tartakovsky's Clone Wars and then the Clone Wars to make people like Anakin again. I was one of them. When I was a kid, I wasn't a huge Anakin fan. I was much more of like a Luke person growing up.
I was an impressionable kid online.
Revenge of the Sith. I wasn't even online, but yeah, Revenge of the Sith made me really like Anakin more. And then especially the Clone Wars. I was like, oh, Anakin might be a top 10 character for me now after watching the Clone Wars. He still might not be a top 10 character for me in general, but I still like Anakin.
It is still baffling to see the people who are like, they're this like visceral, and they're always just like, this wouldn't happen if George was here. It's like, George hates you. You are what made him go away.
Yeah, exactly. This pre-Disney Star Wars. I'm like, aren't you the same person who was frothing at the mouth at Andor? Anyways, yeah. Because Tony Gilroy famously a huge fan of Star Wars, guys.
Right.
Anyways.
By the way, I've been loving that the actor for Yord, and everyone's like, he slipped up the fucking Anakin didn't blow up the Death Star, and then he's like cracking out like so many references, loves the Bad Batch.
He loves the Bad Batch, which I love. I'm like, Bad Batch is peak. Go watch our Bad Batch reviews, guys. We talked about it. Go to our Bad Batch season 2 finale. That was a big episode. Season 3 finale.
Oh, God, I just got like a horrible like taste in my mouth. Like, it's over, isn't it?
I know, right? I fucking miss that show, man.
Going through withdrawals.
We have to do a commentary down the line. I mean, later this year about the Bad Batch finale. That was such a fun finale.
Text return, hell yeah.
Hell yeah, I love that part. Comes in with the lightsaber. Woo-wee!
Holy shit, you never saw it coming.
But yeah, May says the Jedi are bad. OSHA says Jedi are good. And again, this is when Anastasia comes to talk to them. Anastasia says it's about power and who's allowed to use it. And she mentioned this hunting analogy about like, oh, in the fall we hunt this, and in the winter we hunt that, trying to tell OSHA about like how the Jedi are not like, or how they're different from the Jedi. But she says they still hunt. Either way, they're still hunting. That doesn't change. And OSHA kind of clocks her there. But then OSHA says again, OSHA says, I really just want to be with the Jedi. And that's when they cut to the whole training sequence. They go down with the scouts to the whole Jedi encampment. This kind of reminds me of Jedi Fallen Order, Survivor. Your little encampment when you crash land on the planet. Pretty cool. And we'll cut to the part where OSHA or May goes down there, gleefully returns, like, yeah, I lied. Yeah.
I got their ass.
I got their ass. But OSHA goes in there, they immediately call OSHA on her bullshit, basically. They're like, correct. This part was interesting. My first thought was, do they let May lie to them, but they're not letting OSHA because they know OSHA has more of a preference to be a Jedi than May? Like, at this point, if OSHA actually passed the test, as she says, like, as they tell her, like, go with what your heart does. And this is also where Soul says, like, the whole he was 4 thing. But yeah, I'm like, at this point, when they understand that OSHA wants to be with them, and she's like, go with your heart, basically. And OSHA, the next scene, she's like packing up and, you know, all that kind of stuff. Were they willing to just separate the children at this point? Soul does say later on in the present that, like, he really wanted to get both children. But I wonder what their thoughts were. Like, were they ready to just leave with OSHA? Maybe.
I'm sure he probably would have tried asking one more time, if May was very like adamant, like staying, then he probably would like, all right, that's fine.
Hands are tied. Yeah. So yeah, then I said, Soul says he was 4 when I tested him. He said, there's thousands of us, dozens. And OSHA's like, dozens? And he's like, yeah, dozens.
Did he actually say dozens?
No, I'm kidding. He said thousands. He's like, not a lot of black people though, so I'm sorry about that one. No.
You can really help our diversity.
We got a quota. Yoda says we need 2 more black people part of the order, and you and May are kind of it. Please join us. No, I'm kidding.
So I was like, I did my part.
Hey yo, no.
I learned the English. Well, she did willingly.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he's so phenomenal so far with his acting, both in the past Soul. You can really clearly tell the difference between past Soul and Order Soul. There was a great interview with Perry asking him, like, how was it, you know, going between past and present Soul? Were there things you kind of did differently? And he says, like, his connection with OSHA was what kind of tied him differently to those characters. That kind of glued him in. Like how he responds to young OSHA, how he responds to present day OSHA. It was a very fascinating interview, if you want to look that up. I also got bad comments on that one where I was like, hey, great interview, Perry, on the comment section. And then, of course, replied with, you know what Leslie Headland did with Weinstein?
What?
You know, people online hate that Leslie Headland used to work with Harvey Weinstein.
So did a lot of Hollywood, man.
Right? And then people are like, she allowed that stuff to happen. I'm like, what are you guys making up garbage for? And I replied with, you sound such like a bot to somebody. They're like, so you're telling me she worked as his assistant and never saw anything happen? You're being bullshit.
I love going back, and I listen to a lot of Kevin Smith's stand-up stuff because he used to work under Miramax there. And oftentimes he'll tell stories, and like often like Harvey will come up and he'd be like, oh, I listen now, I'm like, oh, but he's not doing anything. It's just like he's just a cog in the greater narrative. And then like later on I see him talking and he's just like, yeah, fucking didn't know.
Exactly. Yeah. So it was messy. And then she left way earlier than all of that. Anyways, getting back to all this, yeah, there are thousands of us. Of course, May comes back and looks at OSHA. They don't even say anything. OSHA doesn't even say anything, but May is like, son of a, and she just runs off. May is clearly upset. OSHA again confirms again she wanted to be a Jedi and doesn't want to share her life with May. May starts angrily hitting OSHA. Then May goes on a walk with Coral and says like, hey, go on a walk with Coral. That's the last time we see May before the whole fire incident. And that's the part, as I mentioned earlier, where getting May's perspective, what does her and Coral talk about? Coral might not be the best person to talk to May at this point in time.
You can't let OSHA leave under any circumstance.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's something like that. Like, you can't let your sister leave. And I think it could be from a genuine thing where it's like, you and your sister belong together. That's very genuine. I think that's what Coral wants. They want these two sisters to be together.
She's their mom as well.
She's their mom as well. She doesn't want their family to be split apart. But of course, that could lead to it. That love, we talked about this with Last of Us, that familial love can lead to a lot of bad things. Like love can go in all different directions. So yeah, the OSHA Anastasia scene is super sweet. Again, OSHA said like, again, she says OSHA is making her choice. If you want to pull the thread, then pull it. Again, they talked about destiny. If you pull the thread, you're changing your destiny. Anastasia is confirming if OSHA wants to pull her thread towards being a Jedi, then that's your destiny. That's what you are meant to be. That's where you're meant to go. Anastasia starts crying at this point, but she's willing to allow OSHA to make her own decision. If she wants to be with the Jedi, then she wants to be with the Jedi. She says she'll discuss it with the elders. She'll discuss the situation with the elders. I kind of want to see that situation too. What did they discuss? How did that situation go? Of course, we don't see what happened after that, but we might not see that scene later on. But again, I don't know if we'll see the last of Anastasia. This is the last scene we'll see of her in this episode. After this, she is lying dead on the rubble. But
all bodies perfectly fine, mind you, like no slashes or anything.
Yep, no slashes, no nothing. But yeah, so Anastasia, you don't get Jodie Turner-Smith to appear in episode 3 and episode 7. For me, I'm like, it's definitely impossible, guys. But I just feel like, again, I keep going back to the vision on the ship. If Anastasia could be manipulating events here, in this episode, she's very familial. She's very protective of OSHA. I don't think there is a bad side. I don't want to think there is, but there's a possibility that she could be alive and she could be out for revenge against these Jedi for murdering her entire coven. We might be thinking it's Coral, because Coral was the one that was shown as having these bad, aggressive tendencies. But it would be a nice twist if it's actually Anastasia, who was super kind to OSHA in the beginning, but unfortunately grew dark after nearly dying from what the Jedi and what the Coven did, whatever chaos unleashed. Anastasia might want revenge on these people, might be manipulating or working with Darth's teeth. Could be a thing. Working with Chimere. Working with somebody. I don't know. Whoever it is, working with Darth's teeth to get her way here. I'm saying, I think one of Coral or Anastasia are still alive, is still alive. I think. We cut to the big part of the episode where OSHA packing up her things. May says, "I will not let you go." OSHA's like, "What do you mean? Yeah, how are you gonna stop me? By killing you." This is different. This is where I get to my big theory, and this is what I want to talk with Nathan about the night of the episode. This whole sequence. I'm gonna fast forward it a little bit, but May says, "I'm going to kill you." Locks OSHA into a room. Takes her book, opens it. We see it has a Jedi Republic symbol on it, which is very interesting. She kind of knew of that before having even met the Jedi. Very cool. But May sees it, burns it, and leaves. Just leaves. We don't see her. We don't know for sure that this fire specifically is the one that's spread across the entire encampment. I highly doubt it.
We don't even see her drop the flame to the door.
We don't even see, exactly. We don't even see her do that from OSHA's perspective. So she might have not even been the one. My point is this May doing this? We don't see May after her talk with Coral until this sequence. What did they talk about? Did Coral, granted, OSHA or May doesn't have the black thing to signify that this obviously is not May, or that she's not in the right of mind. But why I look at this scene so weird, and granted, this could just be a kid who says, I'm going to kill you. Very kid-like dialogue. I could totally pass that. But if not, because the next time they meet, when they're in the tunnel, OSHA escapes. A lot of do that day. She escapes. Fast forward through that. And we see, or before she escapes, actually, I want to cut to, she yells at the window, says, "Somebody save me." We are 1000% going to see Soul hear that. Somebody save me from his perspective before he's able to come around and rescue OSHA down at the bottom. I think that was deliberate.
I'm sure through the Force will be called out.
Yeah.
To bring Soul.
For sure.
I don't think he's around doing nefarious things.
But also did say I saw May start the fire. You're fucking lying.
Well,
You didn't start her. You didn't see her start the fire.
well, if we are to take the initial vision OSHA has in the first episode of seeing young May with black eyes, maybe May has taken over in her youth to do something. Maybe Coral takes over her daughter to like ensure, like, oh no, May.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. I'm like, I think young May, and now I'm retracting my own theory, but I think young May could have genuinely lit up the book, but I think she could have been after the doors close. That's when we could see Coral, maybe Anastasia, see somebody, Coral or Anastasia. Basically, those are the only two suspects. Coral or Anastasia mind control May into starting the fire.
Yeah, because I could definitely see May, like, because even like it's just looking at her, like, we focus on her face for like a few seconds. I'm sure internally she's like, "What am I doing? This is extreme.
Should I do this?" Yeah, she loves her sister. This whole episode, she's arguing with her, but it's an argument. All these arguments throughout this entire episode is built on the love she has of OSHA. She doesn't want OSHA to leave her. Makes sense. She doesn't have to be so angry about it, but she is. And then when they meet again, that's when things get super, super interesting. May, OSHA, things are crashing, the generators sparking, blowing up. Cave is coming down. May says, OSHA, the dialogue on the subtitles. OSHA, jump in, come on, come over here, OSHA. When May say this stuff, she just tried to kill May or OSHA. Like May just tried to kill OSHA, leaves, comes down, and says, OSHA, jump, come to me. And then she says to OSHA, what did you do, OSHA? OSHA says to May, what did you do? OSHA obviously doesn't know what May did to start this whole combustion, so OSHA's question makes sense. Yeah. May's though, what did you do, OSHA? May, you started the fire. Don't you know what you did? But she's obviously she's also very clueless. She's very clueless to everything that's going on right now. She's blaming OSHA. Granted, another devil's advocate to myself, she could be blaming OSHA, saying like, what did you do? If only you would have followed if you wouldn't have went with the Jedi, then none of this would have happened. I could see that being the case. But it still is a very big departure from OSHA. What did you do to, I'm going to kill you and set this book on fire and try to kill you? Like, these two things aren't you surprised that your sister's alive for one? Aren't you, secondly, like why aren't you angry? Why aren't you continuing to be angry with her? Again,
so I guess May is also scared because she knows that everybody else is dead.
She knows everybody else. So she must have walked through what OSHA and Soy eventually walked through to see. Yeah. She said, Mama is dead. What did you do? And OSHA's like, Mama's dead? Later on, OSHA sees Mama is dead. But like May visually saw Mom die, or at least a dead body. So again, that could also be something that we see later on in the episodes. May visually see what happens. So anyways, can
you mind trick a child?
Yeah.
Well, I was wondering, is like, because I know, like, the weak-minded. If like you, they're very force sensitive, but since they are children, untrained, could you?
Probably could. Yeah, it's not proper etiquette at all.
No, obviously, but like, it makes it.
Yeah, I think something must have happened to May. Maybe did. Again, that could be completely BS. And if it is, I'm excited to be wrong. But that's just my theory right now, because again, this seems different. May seems to be vibing differently between trying to kill OSHA and then when she sees her again, it seems differently. So then, Soul comes in. May falls. And Soul again was always around. And I think there's some images of Soul like climbing around the area, I think, later on. So I think Soul must have either heard OSHA, was there obviously when we heard that big boom. Because when OSHA's walking in the tunnel, she hears a boom, and then you hear a lot of screaming, and then she sees May. That big boom and screaming, that's what caused all that death, not the fire. Whatever happened, there was a big boom. It could have been a tug of pull between the thread and the force when the Jedi got there. And when May said, Mama is dead, And compare that to episode 1. The Jedi don't attack unarmed people. May says, "Yeah, you did," or that's a lie, or something like that.
Yes, you do.
Yes, you do. Thank you. Little May could have saw the Jedi pull a lightsaber on an unarmed person. Granted, I'm not saying the Jedi straight up murdered everybody there, but we know there was some big misunderstanding. Torben feels bad. We thought what we were doing was right. Something happened between the Jedi and the Coven. I think both sides are to blame. Both sides are definitely to blame. It's not just Jedi being like, "Where's May and Osha? Bringing them over here." Like, I think something definitely happened on both sides.
Yeah. Because I think in a lot of perspectives of mind control, a lot of people probably just view it as like, oh, they can't control, but they're probably aware of what they're doing. Or sometimes it's just like a blank state of like, oh, what just happened? Nobody maybe considers like they may be experiencing things differently and seeing things misinterpreted.
For sure. So then that was just crazy. I love Soul picking up OSHA. Very much parallels OSHA being saved by Soul in episode 1. Very sweet. They see all the dead bodies again. We just mentioned this is not from the fire. Something happened. I think me and you both think that there might be a third party involved. The Dark Teeth might be on Brendog during all this chaos. Do you sign off on that theory as well, or you don't think he was there at all?
I could see it if like equally while the Jedi are intrigued in these children, maybe a Sith could be as well. It really depends on like what the greater plan of Darth Teeth is. We don't really know.
That's
like
a big question.
What his thing is. If he's trying to like build up power through a new apprentice, I don't know. Granted, we don't know how long May has been practicing under Darth Teeth, but it seems like she's on probably a more finite final test.
Yeah.
Of things. Probably, taken in at a young age of just like, if you come with me, I can help you get revenge for the people who did this. And, after like vigorous many years, it'd be like, your time's finally coming.
Is that just like the
when really it's like his greater plan?
Exactly, yeah. And just like the prologue, the title sequence said at the beginning of episode 1, there are some people who have been training in secret. One such person, May, is off to kill Jedi. I'm paraphrasing, but I assume they've been training for a long time. What we can possibly glean just from these first 3 episodes is that ever since the fire, she's been training with Darth Teeth. So 16 years maybe. That's at least what we're looking at here. Or at most what we're looking at here. Soul saves OSHA. OSHA wakes up, says that May started the fire. So again, how does he see the fire? You said you think Soul probably saw a mind-controlled May start the fire.
Presumably, yeah.
Presumably. And I think if Soul was from a long distance away, if he's looking in, he can kind of see it. So much so that he can't reply to OSHA when she says, "Somebody help me," but he's far away enough where he can see May do it. I don't know. It looks like a small corridor too. So I was like, I don't know where he gets that from. But he also is lying to her for sure when he says May's fire that killed, and then OSHA replies, "Is everybody dead?" And Soul's kind of like, yeah. It's like, Soul, that's a damn lie. That fire didn't kill everybody, unless you weren't there when Endara, Torben, and Konaka are fighting each other. Like we mentioned, Konaka lunging at Torben. It's like these Coven got into the Jedi's head. The Jedi were fearful of the Coven. Shit happened. Was Soul witness there? Or was he a witness there? Did he do anything there? He's also close enough to come save OSHA. So it's just
he's out doing that during. I don't know.
He had to have been there, because there was an eruption. OSHA meets May. May falls. Soul comes running down the same corridor where there's dead bodies.
Yeah.
So it's just Soul. You're hiding something, man. And that's pretty much the end of the episode there. You see it's like, you will never feel like this again. Very sad final line, because you can't promise somebody that she's going to feel like this again. She's going to feel that emptiness, that powerlessness. And that might be what she feels again before she leaves the Order.
Kind of an interesting perspective, too, when you think a lot of these tests in May's revenge killings has been kill them without a weapon. And we see the dead body of the Coven not seemingly a physical scratch on them.
Good point. Could be a part of it. So then, yeah, May is at the willow tree, looking for OSHA because she said at the beginning of the episode, if you're never there, if you're lost, I will always come here to look for you, basically. So she's looking for OSHA. This when she runs into Coral, Anastasia, or the Sith. There's only three options into who May runs into because somebody had to convince May that, for one, the Jedi are to blame for what happened, even though May doesn't need a lot of convincing from what we've seen to blame the Jedi already.
Yeah,
she already blames Jedi for taking her sister, or I think May believes her sister died. That's why she was so surprised.
Yeah.
So somebody had to convince her that her sister died for one thing, and that the Jedi are to blame. I think that could either be the Sith or Anastasia / Coral, one of those two, who might still be alive in present day. Anastasia and Coral, one of those two, both maybe, could still be working with the Sith behind the scenes, unbeknownst to May. That's just my theory. But yeah, and that's the end of the episode. I'm excited for next week. We're going to see Konaka. I hope Konaka doesn't die. That's my hope. May's been on a kill streak so far. Got Indara, got Torben. Konaka's next. Soul's next. I think Soul still might die by the end of the series. Star Wars explained, Alex says, like, if he doesn't die, his reputation is going to be in the shitter. Whereas, like, all that's been revealed is really going to ruin Soul's reputation and his connection to the Jedi. That could be a big emotional conclusion where he's, like, burdened by this. Because we haven't seen him fully burdened. He's been teaching Jedi. He's fine. But, like, at the end of the season, everything comes to pass. Jackie might leave Soul. Soul might just leave Jackie. Like, I could see that happen. It's happened in the High Republic report. Yeah, it's happened in the High Republic before, where Jedi just leaves. Says, I just gotta go. Yeah. With the hope that they'll come back. And that could be a good season 2 thing where we see Soul's arc in season 2 is gonna be like regaining his purpose again. But I can see that happening. Either Soul dies or loses his purpose. Konaka, I hope you live forever, buddy. I love you, Jonas. Yes. So we shall see. So for other theories, I think we're going to Coruscant, maybe, or we'll just jump straight into going to Konaka's planet. I can't wait to see more May and Chimera scenes. They have some great chemistry in episode 2. Chimera and OSHA scenes. People are already shipping Chimera and OSHA, which is great. So I'm just excited.
Oh, from the lean-in?
Yeah, from the lean-in. No, you don't look like her. Yeah. Love it. More Yord scenes. Is he going to be shirtless in episode 4? We haven't seen Yord in a week, so let's see.
All the negative connotations are going to come down on Soul, and Yord's going to be like, I could be that Jedi.
Yeah.
Send the dogs on me. A Dark Knight.
Yeah. So that's about it.
Alrighty.
So yeah, you guys can find me on Twitter. Oh, thank God of the ash right there.
In there the whole time. You can't. Cool. Not today.
Okay. Find me on Twitter, Harris EV9. I'm about to go watch some anime. Kaiju number 8. My Hero Academia season 7. And then read some more books tonight. Hopefully go to bed at a good time. I've been going to bed at 6:30 every night. Not great. Every morning. I love it. I do love it. I'm playing some Bloodborne on PS5.
You're not going to bed.
What?
You're not going to bed. Playing Bloodborne.
Yeah, exactly. I'm always doing shit. So yeah, that's about me. Or that's about it for me. Also for this channel, go watch our commentaries. We did Days of Future Past, which is, I think I just checked, 52 views on Days of Future Past. The Rogue Cut is not available anywhere, so you have to unfortunately pay $3 to $4 for it, but it's money well spent, and it's a commentary well watched because it was a fun time.
62 views.
62, great. It was a fun time when we watched it. Earlier that week, we also watched The Wolverine, 2013's Wolverine. The Wolverine
First Class is at 105.
Great movie. So yeah, we've been watching all the Fox Marvel movies in prep for Deadpool / Wolverine. Will it break 200 million? It's looking likely.
I'm seeing a lot of not sold out, but like a lot of full theaters at my theater that isn't the norm.
Should I buy tickets? Probably.
Gotta go to that opening night crowd.
I'm going opening now somewhere. Yeah, that's a fact.
It's opening night somewhere.
Where can they find you, motherfucker?
Here on the channel, but also at _TimeBlazer. We're making a show called Time Blazer with co-starring Craig Salt and Evan Harris.
That's me playing Ben, the lawyer.
The lawyer. That's right. I remember that.
It might be only for season 1, but I'm a lawyer.
Nah, it's there. I'm sure we'll get to the trial of Time Blazer. Potential. There's some sauce there. But yeah, if you enjoyed this, make sure you like button, subscribe, now ring the bell so you don't miss future Hyperspace Hype episodes. And that being said, hope you have a great day. May the force be with you always.